Have you ever needed to do something but kept finding reasons to put it off? In this episode, we're talking about self-sabotage, procrastination, and the fear that often keeps us stuck. I'll also share a personal experience that changed the way I think about avoidance and moving forward. Because sometimes the biggest thing standing in our way is ourselves. Welcome to Raising Boys with Purpose, a Christian parenting podcast for moms raising teens and young adult sons. I'm Brooke, a boy mom and parenting coach, and here we talk about raising sons, building character, and preparing our boys for adulthood with confidence and faith. For more encouragement and conversation throughout the week, come join our Raising Boys with Purpose Facebook group. The link for all my social media is in the description. Do you feel heaviness when you think about trying something new? Maybe a tightness in your chest when you contemplate a change you know you probably need to make. Or perhaps there's something you've been meaning to do for a while now, but you keep putting it off. If so, you're not alone. As moms, we're used to thinking about everyone else when we make decisions. How will this affect our families, our children? We try to be balanced and thoughtful, but sometimes we avoid new things simply because they're uncomfortable. And life feels pretty good right now. We don't want to make waves. But what if that self-sabotage isn't only hurting us? What if it's affecting the people we love as well? A few years ago, I noticed this spot on my nose. At first, it looked like a blemish, but over time it changed. It grew a little, scabbed over, and then seemed to heal. I knew something wasn't right, but our insurance situation at the time was a little wonky, so I ignored it. As I ignored it, it gradually got worse. But I kept telling myself I'd have it looked at as soon as our insurance improved. We also had graduations coming up, and honestly, I really didn't feel like dealing with it. I'd just cover it with makeup and move on. Eventually, though, I had to suck it up and go to the doctor. Self-sabotage can take many forms, and procrastination is a big one. We all procrastinate from time to time. We tell ourselves we don't have the time right now. We'll do it later. We've got plenty of time. Because we're uncomfortable or uncertain, we delay. Sometimes we don't trust our gut. We convince ourselves we're exaggerating or blowing something out of proportion. Other times, we simply don't want to believe something is true because if we did, we'd have to do something about it. Then there's the story we tell ourselves. You're not smart enough. You're not good enough. You're too slow. You have nothing valuable to offer. No one wants to hear what you have to say. Or maybe the story goes the other direction. Everything's fine. Nothing to see here. These are just a few ways we sabotage ourselves. But the bigger question is why? Often underneath self-sabotage is a fear of failure or pain. After all, if you never try, you can't fail. And if you never put yourself out there, no one can hurt you. In my case, I didn't want to admit there was something wrong. I've always been pretty healthy, so part of me believed that if I just ignored it, it would eventually go away. Unfortunately, it didn't. Instead, it got worse. By the time I finally went to the doctor, there was no hiding it. I was getting a few stares, and a friend had even asked me about it. I had a biopsy, and ends up it's cancer. But honestly, I already knew. At one point, I had seen a short video from a woman who had the same type of cancer. She shared her surgery and recovery journey on YouTube. I watched it, considered it for a moment, and then did what I've been doing all along. I put my head in the sand like an ostrich. By that point, my procrastination had allowed the cancer to grow to the point that it would require major surgery and downtime. On my face. Now, I'm not particularly vain, but that was hard to hear. You can't hide that. So because I had family weddings coming up and the cancer was considered slow growing, the doctor said I could delay the surgery if I wanted to. So once again, I buried my head in the sand and didn't want to talk about it with anyone. Looking back now, I can see that my problem wasn't a lack of information. Deep down, I knew something wasn't right. The real problem was fear, denial, and procrastination. And if we're honest, That's often where self-sabotage begins. So how do we stop it? I think the first step is getting honest with ourselves. Why are we sabotaging our own progress? What's underneath it? Is there a specific fear driving it, or is this a pattern we've fallen into over time? Jeremiah 17:9 says, "The heart is deceitful above all things." Sometimes we convince ourselves that everything is fine when it isn't. Sometimes we tell ourselves we'll deal with it later. Other times, we convince ourselves that we're not capable, qualified, smart enough, or ready enough. But when we do that, we're putting our immediate comfort ahead of long-term purpose. One of the ways we begin breaking that cycle is by replacing those self-defeating thoughts with truth. We need to remind ourselves of who God says we are, instead of listening to every fearful thought that enters our minds. Proverbs 8:21 tells us that the tongue has the power of life and death. The words we speak over ourselves matter. They can either keep us stuck or help us move forward. Then we take one small step. Not 10 steps and not the entire journey, just the next step. When we're overwhelmed, we tend to focus on everything that has to happen. Instead, ask yourself, what's the simplest thing I can do today? Sometimes that first small step is all it takes to start moving in the right direction. What surprises me most when I look back on that season is that the answer wasn't in trying harder. It came when I finally stopped carrying it alone. Right before I was supposed to have the surgery, I finally told my mom what was going on. The weddings were over, and I knew I couldn't avoid the conversation any longer. I told her how scared I was and how much I was dreading the surgery as it got closer. She asked questions and started to do some research of her own. The truth is, in my fear and denial, I had stopped looking for other possibilities. In my mind, it was this surgery or nothing. But my mom wasn't emotionally stuck where I was. She was able to step back, ask questions, and look at the situation with fresh eyes. In doing so, she found a laser and radiation treatment that was available through another doctor. I canceled my surgery. After more doctor's appointments and treatments, I was cancer-free. Now, the process wasn't pretty, and honestly, it got worse before it got better. But the scars I have today are nothing compared to what they would have been with surgery. And every year that goes by, I see a little more healing. Looking back, I can see that self-sabotage narrows our perspective. When we're stuck in fear, discomfort, or uncertainty, our focus becomes very narrow. We become so consumed with what's right in front of us that we stop seeing the bigger picture and forget that our choices often affect the people around us. As moms, there are people who love us, need us, and want to help us. There are also people watching us. Our sons are watching how we respond when we're afraid. They're watching how we handle uncertainty, disappointments, setbacks, and challenges. Are we willing to take the next step anyway? Philippians 2 reminds us to look not only to our own interests, but also to the interests of others. Sometimes moving forward isn't just about us. It's also about becoming the example our sons need to see when they face their own fears and challenges someday. So if there's something you've been putting off, avoiding, or talking yourself out of, maybe today is the day to take one small step. Make the phone call, have the conversation, fill out the application, ask the question. Whatever it is, don't let fear make the decision for you. God hasn't called us to live with our heads in the sand, pretending problems don't exist or allowing fear to make our decisions for us. He's called us to walk forward in faith, one step at a time. And the good news is that you don't have to take that step perfectly. You don't have to have all the answers. You don't have to know exactly how everything will turn out. You simply have to be willing to take the next step and trust Him with the rest. If this episode of Raising Boys with Purpose encouraged you, please like this video and subscribe so you don't miss future episodes of this podcast. And if you're raising a teen or young adult son and want encouragement and practical guidance, come join us in the Raising Boys with Purpose Facebook community. The link is below. Thanks for being here today. Now grab your iced coffee, hug your son, and remember, you're raising him with purpose.